We'll call to order the meeting of the City of Ann Arbor Planning Commission. This is the November 7th meeting. We'll start with, well, I did the call to order, and so the roll call.
Thank you. Commissioner Abrams.
Here.
Commissioner Ackerman.
Here.
Commissioner Briggs.
Here.
Commissioner Gibb Randall.
Here.
Commissioner Hammerschmidt.
Here.
Commissioner Mills.
Here.
Commissioner Woods.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. There are no introductions. So the minutes of the previous meeting from the October 1st Planning Commission meeting, someone want to move those minutes? Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Gibb Randall. Any corrections or discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Next is approval of the agenda. Ms. DeLeo.
I have a suggestion or recommendation that the agenda be amended before it is approved. The item number 9B, which is a pre-petition conference for a proposed PUD project at 2195 East Ellsworth, that be removed from the regular business portion and then moved to after the adjournment and it be discussed in a working session.
Will anyone move the agenda as amended?
I so moved. Do I need to say that again?
No, that's fine. Seconded by, it was moved by Commissioner Briggs, seconded by Commissioner, I know you're Sarah, and I don't know your Hammerschmidt. Yes? All right. All right. I don't share this very often, audience, sorry. So, all in favor of the agenda as amended? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that is everybody. Next is item 6, reports from city administration, city council, planning manager, planning commission officers and committees, written communications and petitions. So first we'll start with Commissioner Ackerman, our city council representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items of update from Monday night's city council meeting. First, 2 properties were acquired by the city, one a greenbelt property outside of the city limits, the second new natural area purchase is parkland within the city limits. The downtown affordable housing premium ordinance amendments passed unanimously at second reading without any material amendments. So congratulations on a job well done to Ms. DeLeo, the staff member who worked on that, and to all the commissioners who apparently perfected it. So it has been 10 years since the last time our downtown premiums were updated in a material fashion. And I look forward to monitoring the effect that these updates bring and hopefully bring many more units of affordable housing as well as funding to the Affordable Housing Fund. And finally, last update, City Council also passed a resolution calling the city to lead the efforts of creating a carbon neutral community by 2030. Land use obviously plays a huge role in how we emit carbon as a city. And so this commission will be placed centrally in a lot of policy decisions that will need to be made. Some of them very difficult, some of them low-hanging fruit, but probably most of them very difficult. So thank you.
Very good. Planning manager, Ms. DeLeo, do you have something for
I
to report?
do not have anything at this evening.
All right. Are there any planning commission officers or committees that want to report out? Seeing no one.
Hold on.
Sorry, I didn't look close enough. I apologize.
Yeah.
Commissioner
No, that's fine.
Gibb-Randall.
I would just say that on Environmental Commission, obviously, the emergency climate action thing came through us first, and I think there's going to need to be some good working together in terms of some of the policies and budgeting and things like, not that we make budgeting decisions, but thinking about projects and all those kinds of things that will really be absolutely necessary in order to be able to move towards that goal in any kind of realistic way. So I would imagine that there may need to be some more meshing in terms of Environmental Commission and Planning Commission as we try to figure out how to hit that goal, because that's coming up fast.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Ackerman.
Sorry, I'll give an update from Housing and Human Services Advisory Board, but also relevant to City Council. Since April, staff from the Housing Commission, the Planning Office, and the Finance Office at City Hall have been working on a feasibility study of multiple publicly owned properties for their viability to for the construction of affordable housing. That report is now ready and will be presented to City Council on November 17th, I believe, is the Monday. It might be the 18th. But the report is available on Legistar as well. I encourage people to give it a read. It's very encouraging. There are 9 city-owned properties that are developable and stand a good chance of getting federal and state funding to provide affordable housing. So really encouraging. The report is very detailed and is a first step towards a very tangible plan to see that happen.
Very good. All right, now I'll say there are no other committee reports. 6D is written communications and petitions, and there were a number of things in our packet, and I think printed off before you perhaps. And the next item on our agenda is audience participation. Audience members may speak for 3 minutes about an item that is not listed on the public hearing on this agenda. So if you would like to make a public comment, you can please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. All right, I don't see anyone, so I will close the audience participation and move on to item number 8, which is the public hearing scheduled for the next business meeting. Mr. Leo, do you want me to read these? Or?
I think you are supposed to.
Okay, great. So there will be a public hearing.
tonight.
That's.
Oh, yeah, wait, keep going.
Is this for the next one?
I can explain that we had a technical error in the public hearing notice for these 4 park rezonings. So we will be holding another public hearing at the next meeting. So this is accurate and feels like deja vu.
Got it, great. So for the next meeting, which will be back to our regularly scheduled Tuesday, it's the 3rd Tuesday of the month, so Tuesday, November 19th at 7 p.m., we will have rezoning of 3 city parks and 1 addition to Hanson Park from the current zoning district designations to public land district for city council approval. Those are Buttonbush Nature Area, Chicory Nature Area, an unnamed 1.3 acre park on East Eisenhower, and a 1.5 acre addition to Hanson Park. There's also 3611 to 3621 Plymouth Road rezoning, site plan with planned project modifications and special exception use for a drive-through facility. And 2385 East Ellsworth, special exception use for a medical marijuana provisioning center and marijuana retailer. If you have any questions about these, you can, let's see, it says you can contact Planning Services Unit. Okay. Now, regular business. So we have 1 item of regular business, which is, this is where the deja vu comes in, the rezoning of the 3 new city parks and 1 addition to Hanson Park. So Ms. DeLeo will give a presentation, then we'll have the public hearing and we'll discuss the motion.
Thank you. This is a rezoning of 4 park properties that were recently acquired. We have written a single staff report, and we are holding 1 single public hearing tonight, as well as another the next meeting. City Council will be taking these separately when it gets to them. The first rezoning, and also let me say that purchasing or accepting land donations does not automatically change a zoning designation. Zoning map is part of the Chapter 55, the UDC, and only an ordinance to amend the UDC and the zoning map can change the zoning designation of any land. So even though these are now under the city ownership, a PL, public land zoning designation, does not automatically move forward. We need to go through this rezoning process. The Buttonbush Nature Area is the first that we are rezoning. It's located at 2601 Duvarn Road. That's between North Spurway and North Fox Ridge. It's a total of 16 acres. About 6 acres was donated by the Toll Brothers, and another 10 acres was purchased by the city. This came with the North Oaks project, the development of the Nixon Farm into the North Oaks neighborhood. It is currently zoned R4A with conditions, as is the adjacent North Oaks, and we are proposing to rezone it to PL. The second area is the Chicory Nature Area, located at 2817 Dillon Drive. It's about 2 acres of natural area donated by Pulte Homes, part of their North Sky development. It is currently zoned R1D, as is the adjacent North Sky site, and we are proposing to rezone it to PL. Third piece of property is 385 East Eisenhower Parkway. This is, I'm sorry, I feel like this is just more than 1 acre, donated as part of the Mallett's View Office Center development and PUD. It was donated in 2007. And it is currently zoned PUD. We are proposing to rezone it to PL. And finally, there has been an addition to the Hanson Nature Area at 1200 South Maple Road. This 1.5 acre piece that I've circled in red came from Avalon Nonprofit Housing Corporation as part of their Hickory Way site plan. So with this addition, Hanson Nature Area is now 9 acres. The piece is currently zoned R4B, as is the adjacent Hickory Way site, and we are proposing to rezone it to PL. I would be happy to answer any additional questions. And again, this will come before you again next week, next meeting. We will be recommending approval, but tonight we are recommending that it be postponed so that a proper public hearing can be advertised and held.
Very good. Now we will open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to address the Planning Commission on this item of business, please step forward and again state your name and address for the record. Seeing no takers, I will close the public hearing, but again remind people that there will be an opportunity to speak at the next meeting. All right, I will read the motion. The motion reads, the Ann Arbor City Planning Commission hereby recommends that the mayor and city council approve the Buttonbush Nature Area rezoning from R4A with conditions, multiple family dwelling, to PL public land, the Hickory Nature Area rezoning from R1D single family dwelling to PL, the 385 East Eisenhower Parkway Park rezoning from PUD planned unit development to PL, and the Hanson Nature Area addition rezoning from R4B multiple family dwelling to PL. Do I have a commissioner who will move this? Moved by Commissioner Wood, seconded by Commissioner Gibb Randall. Any discussion? Commissioner Briggs.
I just had a few questions about these parcels. I think with the, if I understand the Buttonbush one, that's kind of a more sensitive natural area. Am I correct on that?
I can follow up with the Parks and NAP. I do believe it has some, at least medium, perhaps high-quality natural areas on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I guess what I was, so I was wondering just about a little bit of the process for accepting this, obviously, just helping us understand, maybe even for the next public hearing, in terms of as when land is offered, sort of how that is assessed. I've been thinking about how much of our parkland is adjacent to highways, which, not, in terms of, I don't know what percentage that would be, but in a few of this, it's kind of evident that some of it's next to highways. And it obviously provides a nice buffer for the folks who are living in those communities. But I'm just curious how Parks kind of thinks about that land in terms of park space as well. So I don't know if you know about anything on any specific one of these properties. But.
I will have a follow-up. I do recall during the site plan process for the North Oaks projects that NAP, the Natural Area Preservation, advocated and expressed interest in that particular piece. That's why I had mentioned that it has at least medium, perhaps has some
Yeah.
high-quality woodlands. There are some open areas on the North Oaks South piece that they actually said that was, that they did not want to take on, and they would not accept a donation. So specific to this one, I'll ask about
Yeah, I was
what
just like-
qualities make it.
Yeah, I was particularly wondering about the Hickory Nature Area. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't visited that spot at all to know what it's like, but just out of curiosity.
Sure.
Commissioner Gabrandel.
Following on Commissioner Briggs' comments, I'd be curious with the Hickory Nature Area, I know that there were some plans afoot to be able to have some sort of way to move north-south along there and connect it down to the boardwalk near the river. And so I would be curious to see how that would fit into a larger picture of connectivity, both for habitat and people moving through that area. Is that something that the city is still actively trying to strategically make happen? Or I know that was a while ago that I heard about that as an effort, and I'm just curious to see, frankly, if any of these projects fit into any kind of larger schema of how parks are connected, both for human use and habitat.
Yes, I will have follow-up for you.
Commissioner Woods.
And then I would also have a question as to those who are making these donations, which appears to be generosity on their part. Is there any sort of financial benefit which comes to the person who's making the donation? And in particular, I'm just curious about Avalon being a nonprofit housing corporation. It almost seems like, why would they give up a resource which could be very important to them at some point in the future and turn it over to the city? So just things I'd like to know.
I can address that piece from the Hanson Nature Area and Avalon. The piece that they donated is covered in wetland area, so it is unbuildable for them. So this moves it off of their responsibility onto the city's responsibility. It is unbuildable land. They get credit for the area for floor area and density purposes. So they are not penalized by donating the land, but it is unbuildable, and so it makes their ownership piece smaller for manageability, and they might have less tax burden because of it, their smaller land size. That I'm not certain, given their nonprofit status, but they did not donate buildable land.
Anything else? Can someone move a postponement? Postponement was moved by Commissioner Gabrandel, seconded by Commissioner Briggs. Any discussion on the motion to postpone? All in favor of postponement, please say aye. Aye. That is everyone. All right, so we will see this next time. We've moved item 9B, so now we are on to item 10, which is audience participation. Again, lots of opportunities to participate, folks. Anybody who is interested to talk about any issue that they want can come forward. You've got the podium for 3 minutes. Just please state your name and address. All right, we'll close item 10. There is, now we're on item 11, commission proposed business, and there's something already in our packets that has been proposed for us.
Thank you. In your packets, you have a memo from Planning Manager Brett Leonard about the City Council's legislative policy agenda and the Planning Commission's recommendation to it. City Council has a committee that drafts a policy agenda. It's provided, the committee provides it to council for adoption. Prior to finalizing that, the City Council seeks advice and recommendations from its advisory boards and commissions, and the Planning Commission is one of them. We have attached the last two policy agendas that have been adopted. If the Planning Commission has any policy feedback that they'd like to forward to the City Council, I can provide a template for moving and suggesting something to be included. I'll just hit the highlights, or the topics that have been covered in the past 2 years. The policy agenda included recommendations in the interest of creating and sustaining an affordable and welcoming community, policies in the interest of creating and sustaining local and regional mobility and transportation safety, policies in the interest of promoting a sustainable and healthy environment, policies in the interest of providing open, transparent, effective, and financially sound local government, policies in the interest of preserving the right of self-determination in our community, in the interest of safe and welcoming and inclusive community, in the interest of providing a financially stable local government, promoting responsible economic development, in the interest of protecting the environment as responsible stewards of a natural resource, and in the interest of building and maintaining a sustainable infrastructure. One final one, in the interest of supporting workplace safety, job security, and the right of employees to organize. So those were the kinds of topics that City Council has prepared policy agenda for, and if the Planning Commission would like to forward any comments to them, I'll be happy to arrange that.
Do you want one now? Because I do have one that's come before us before, and actually now this is part of my day job, it's coming up, is something to propose, advance, and monitor initiatives that allow municipalities to exceed the state's energy code. I don't know if you recall before, those of you who were on commission a couple of years ago, when we talked about trying to, what options we had to require increased energy efficiency. Right now, you cannot require that in new buildings. You can require it as, as an incentive, which is one of the things that we had in our premiums, is that if you had more efficient buildings, you might get a premium, but the state's energy code doesn't let you exceed it. And so I think that that's particularly, as Commissioner Gibb-Randall talked about, that's really important if we're going to achieve our carbon neutrality goals.
In that case, I suggest that perhaps someone would like to move to recommend allowing municipalities to exceed the energy code as a inclusion or focus area of the FY 2021 legislative policy agenda, and someone else can support that.
Commissioner Ackerman will move that. Thank you. Does anyone want, Commissioner Hammerschmidt will put down as the second. I don't know why in my block. I will learn it. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. I would imagine, I don't know what the timing of this is, but particularly, I think as the Carbon Neutrality Commission comes into play, I think that there's potentially other roadblocks that, well, I know there are other roadblocks that do not necessarily have to do exactly with the work that we have before us, that I think it's just helpful to pass along that there's more on achieving carbon neutrality, and particularly with respect to some utility policies that I think might want to be added on there. Okay, yes.
So are you looking for all those suggestions tonight, or are those going to be moved forward soon, or?
I believe that the Council Policy Agenda Committee will be moving forward their recommendations to council for adoption in early 2020, so perhaps January or February.
Okay.
So I think we may still have a more window of time to forward additional suggestions to them, but I don't think we have a very great window.
Great.
Anything else? Any other commission proposed business? I just have a question. There was something within our packet on a comment from the Transportation Committee about the CIP, and I was just wondering if you had any information on, the CIP is the Capital Improvements Plan. I was wondering if you have any information on when we'll be discussing the CIP.
I personally do not have that information, but I can follow up with an email as soon as possible if I can get that answered this week, and if not, by the next meeting.
Great. It's something that we discuss every year, so I don't think we've missed it because it's been a while since we discussed it, and it's typically winter, so I kind of think so. So, but I just wanted to, because it was, in there, in case anybody from the Transportation Commission is listening, we saw it. We will make sure that when we talk about the CIP, we include it.
Well, if I can just follow up on that, that was my suggestion at the Transportation Committee meeting. As a representative, there was a question about how to move forward on some issues, and I knew that there was a process, and so I told them probably the easiest thing is to let the Planning Commission know that you're interested in that. And the advisors to the Transportation Committee did not know yet either when it was going to be coming before us. So that's how that happened.
Very good. Perhaps I might suggest that this is something that if it hasn't already been forwarded to Ms. Goslin, so that it can be incorporated when we see the first draft. It was just asking for a couple things to be included. Maybe they're already on there, but understanding kind of why they may or may not be is really helpful. Any other, there is other.
Not
More
proposed business.
discussion.
I wasn't sure about mentioning this. It seemed a little bit different, the comments that we got this time around. There was over about a month and a half of, like the Transportation Commission, that was from September 18th, and I suspect it took a little while to maybe pull together that statement. I can't remember. I think it was dated, that's dated August 8th. So, and then it was adopted September 18th. So I was just kind of curious. And then there was some correspondence, which I think we got already from Kirk Westfall on October 1st. But it just seemed like it had taken a while for some of this correspondence to get to us, which seemed a little bit unusual. So just a comment maybe for the future.
Thank you. Yeah, now that you're mentioning it, the dates for all of these are quite a while ago. Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Commissioner Gibb Randall, seconded by Commissioner Ahrens. The public meeting is adjourned. The TV cameras will at some point shut off. We do have still a working session that you are welcome to stick around for, but it's a separate thing. So during that, we'll also have an opportunity, at a working session, there's an opportunity for public comment. We don't have a technical agenda for this, so what I would suggest is what we often do in the working session, if it's amenable to the commission, is take any public comment about the working session at the beginning, and then perhaps again at the end. Okay. So we'll take that public comment first. If anyone wants to, you've got another opportunity.